Okay, friends of Uncle Jim's Worm Farm, this is Uncle Jim coming to you. A little nostalgia from 2008. We were on TV. We had just gotten off the Oprah show. Our worms had just gotten off Oprah, and now her name is Catherine Benet, and she had a weekly program, and we were special on it. So let's just watch this and have a little fun.
You won't be disappointed. They never cease to disappoint. They never disappoint us. It's absolutely amazing how they relate to our themes. And now, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guest, who, by the way, will come to us today with some last-minute Christmas suggestions. You say, worms? Well, let him explain that to you. He is Mr. Jim Shaw. He is the owner and founder of Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. Uncle Jim, or shall we just call you Jim? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I must say, Mr. Shaw, that I've met many different types of farmers. We have those that have livestock. We have those that raise tobacco and plants, flower farmers. But I have never met a worm farmer. How did you ever worm your way into that special niche?
Well, as a young child, probably 8 years old, my father was from Vermont, and he was a fisherman, and we had lived in Connecticut, and he said, Jim, why don't you start selling worms? So as a young kid, I was a kid who had this sign out in front of his lawn, and
It wasn't lemonade.
no, it wasn't lemonade, it was worms. It was night crawlers. And then as I got older, I started selling more, and then it's kind of one of those things. You start out as a kid, and then as you go old, it matures, and you have children of your own, and you pass it on, and it was a hobby that more or less got out of control.
Out of control. Well, recently you had the honor of being featured on Earth Day on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Tell us about that.
Well, Oprah's executive director called us, and they had an Earth Day 2008, and they said they wanted something environmentally friendly, and for whatever reason, they picked worms.
Well, natural fertilizer,
Yes,
right?
and the worms and the composters, and what we did was we worked with them over the course of 3 weeks on gathering the worms, explaining what the worms do, and it was kind of cute because Julia Roberts was with Oprah, and they were both a little squeamish at first, but explain what the worms do.
Now, I want our viewers to understand that this is no small-scale operation, and we have a video that's going to take us to Uncle Jim's worm farm. Now, let's start to roll that video. Now, Jim, most people can count their livestock. They know about how many cows are in their herd. Do you have any way of estimating how many worms you actually have?
Gazillions. How's that sound?
Explain what we're looking at here.
Well, right now, we raise our worms in barrels or bins, whichever word you prefer, and we have a mixture of moss and bedding in each drum, and each drum is cared for just like you'd care for each of your livestock or whatever. Each drum has to be fed, watered on a daily basis, misted, picked to make sure the drum isn't overwhelmed with the worms.
Now, who are we featuring here? I'm talking about the humans.
Okay, the humans, that's my son John and my son David. John he's a Penn State graduate who enjoys worms. My other son Jimmy's a Penn State graduate. He's upstairs doing all the computer work. But there we are. That particular worm is a red worm. It's a composting worm that basically lives in the top 3 to 4 inches of the soil. Just like every human being is different and every tree in a forest is different, there's over 3,000 different variety of worms. Now that particular worm that I'm holding is more of an aerating worm that can go deeper into the soil, which allows rain to get into your garden or into your lawn or your golf course or your playground, and makes the grass greener and healthier versus naturally versus chemically.
My goodness, what happens if you get the wrong worm in the wrong bin?
Don't worry about it. Those worms cohabitate, no problem. They won't fight with one another, what have you. But it is good to separate them because the clientele is after a specific worm in most cases.
Mm-hmm. And what are these worms?
Those worms, let's see, those are called jumpers.
Jumpers, what does that mean?
They're a worm that loves the tropical weather. It's grown down south in the Georgia area. It's kind of a combination of a composting worm and aerating worm.
Oh my goodness, there's some activity going on
Oh
there.
yeah, if you might catch one jumping here sooner or later, but it's a healthy worm. It's a good
Oh,
worm
look
to
at
share.
that.
There we go. There we go.
Now, what's the purpose of the jumping? Wow.
Hey, the purpose is
Oh.
that's the way God made it. I couldn't tell you why, but it's in its gene pool. Each worm has its own different little distinctive characteristic.
Now you have those worms separated into white bins as opposed to the blue bins where you're actually cultivating them.
Well,
What is that?